Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. Playing video games underneath Linux is like being in a terrible relationship. One day things are swimming, they're great, you're talking about getting married. The next day your testicles have been snipped clean off in the middle of the night, okay? Not something you want to go through, alright? Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I woke up to the balls being snipped off. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what's been going on, if you're a video game player and you're underneath Linux, all of a sudden, literally today, Linux users can't play GTA Online anymore. This to me is pretty important. I'm a pretty heavy Grand Theft Auto player. I love GTA. I made several videos on my channel, and I've talked a lot about GTA Online, specifically when things like the cheating situation goes out of proportion. My IP addresses used to constantly be getting leaked. I mean, there was a period where a DDoSer took down my streams simply because playing on Grand Theft Auto Online just gave my static IP address, which that's what my ISP gave me. Guy just kept nuking me with DDoSs, and boom, that's pretty much how things go. Now, this game used to work pretty fine underneath, my actual Linux operating system. In fact, it was one of the few games that I was actively playing online. And my history with GTA is one that 11 years ago, I remember distinctly starting my character out on the PlayStation 3, importing it literally within a week of the PS4 release, and then immediately copying that character over to the PC when it released there, okay? I bought Grand Theft Auto 5 more times than I want to admit, and honestly, I've enjoyed playing this with one of the best friends that I've ever made in my entire life. For a third of my life, me and my buddy Amaru have been playing through Grand Theft Auto Online. I've been making money. I've been buying everything in the expansions, okay? Grinding like a mofo, all right? Buying as many supercars as I can. It is a guilty pleasure for me. And as of today, that guilty pleasure has basically been cut dead by Rockstar. Why? Because Rockstar decided to actually put in an anti-cheat to their game. Now you might be like, "Whoa, Muda, is that new? I thought they already had an anti-cheat." Now I wouldn't know anything about a Rockstar proprietary anti-cheat. Even if it did exist, I wouldn't really believe in it. Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 5 has been filled with so many hackers that if you were just to log into the game right now, literally almost every single public session you go to probably consists of a hacker. It's not unusual for some random genie to spawn into the game and give every player like $300 million and move away. In fact, GTA 5's hacking problem was so bad that instead of going to buy a shark card, it was more economically viable for you to just purchase a actual cheat. Not that I'm endorsing it because cheating is haram. You could just hack yourself in a crap ton of money. Even if you were supposedly to get banned, you could just come back to the game and just play with an insane amount of cash. Literally, that is where it came to. And GTA Online has so many players, okay, that it generates Rockstar something around $1 billion like every year just in microtransaction sales, okay? And I assume a lot of that has to do with people playing on the Xbox, people playing on the PlayStation, because of the amount of cheaters on the PC, the economy must be so diluted, it's rivaling that of like, what was that one country, Nigeria or something, or Zimbabwe, all right? With the $300 trillion bill? Yeah, everyone in Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 5 must be, even the homeless people are trillionaires in this universe, okay? That's how much the cheating problem pretty much affected this game. Now, GTA 5, if you're playing on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series, you have a much more newer version with more content, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to the PC version, we're like a generation behind and filled with hackers. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this BattleEye update wasn't really all that important. So immediately, if you woke up earlier, you would notice that, BattleEye BE server, GTA 5 BattleEye.exe got added. And yeah, this is the start of kernel level anti-cheat in yet another game I play online. Now, I have my own history with anti-cheats like BattleEye. I think BattleEye is a complete joke and a waste of time when it comes to kernel-level anti-cheats. But to start off with what a kernel-level anti-cheat is, let's talk about ring layers inside an actual operating system. So when we talk about kernel-level anti-cheats, I guess the best way to put it in is kind of like this, okay? Let's imagine if you were a, anti-cheat that was sitting in ring 3. Now, a lot of cheat developers actually go so far as to develop their cheats for kernel-level access, meaning that they sit at the deepest layer, the most privileged layer of your actual operating system's kernel. So when a cheat basically sits at the most center level, it is usually undetectable by any of these, cheats above, or those cheats really are unable to do anything about that anti-cheat in particular, or that cheat in particular. So what anti-cheat developers do is they develop kernel-level anti-cheats. Now, some of the most popular kernel-level anti-cheats are things like Ricochet anti-cheat that runs Call of Duty. You've got Vanguard for Valorant and League of Legends. And, of course, you've got Easy Anti-Cheat that powers Fortnite and several games. And, of course, you have the most hated of mine, BattlEye, which powers, again, some of my most popular favorite online games to play. Games like Grand Theft Auto Online now, and games like Rainbow Six Siege. But they also power other games like Escape from Tarkov. Now, obviously, if you ever played Escape from Tarkov, one thing that I think you will understand is there is such a cheating problem in that game that it has spawned some of the most popular mods, such as single-player Tarkov, which allows you to play the online-focused Tarkov experience in a purely single-player PvE-oriented fashion. In fact, it's such a popular mod that literally 49,000 members exist in their subreddit alone. And yes, these people are active players, it seems, for a single-player version of Tarkov. Now, at this point, if you're playing single-player Tarkov, which I can't even show you the footage because BSG Games would be such a fucking baby about it that they would try DMCAing the video from what I've heard from other creators. And so I'm not going to risk it. But if you're playing Escape from Tarkov single-player, dog, you might as well download Stalker Anomaly, okay? Single-player, full mod for an amazing game franchise known as Stalker, okay? If you want to play these kind of hardcore games, just play Stalker, okay? The original Zone trilogy, or get ready for Stalker 2 that's coming out. But anyways, again, it has a massive hacker problem, and BattlEye powers Escape from Tarkov, and it doesn't seem to be doing that great of a job. Now, if you play games like Rainbow Six Siege, you probably also notice, whoa, there's a hacker problem here too. Literally every season is filled with the biggest amount of hackers that you will find, and it's not uncommon that if you play Rainbow Six Siege for more than a day or two, you'll probably notice on the top right of your gameplay, there will probably just be like a string of bans that constantly get processed through. Now, obviously, that shows the anti-cheat is taking effect. It's just not really doing anything as you're getting completely dunked on by an actual cheater that you're playing against. So even with as invasive as these anti-cheats get, the cheat developers have also gotten just as invasive. And that's why this has become an arms race where at the end of the day, the only person that I think really gets truly harmed in the process is you, the actual gamer, who has to deal with some of the most invasive software sitting on their actual systems just because there are really bad actors, unfortunately, and so you have to sit with these, security risks sitting on your system. No one would ever say it's a good idea to have, this excess of kernel-level software, especially if you don't need it. It's one thing if you've got something like device drivers, but if you're literally just playing a video game that needs to go that invasive, it's ideal that you probably don't play that video game on your computer where you do a lot of personal stuff on. That's just a general guideline. So anyways, Rockstar implemented BattlEye, okay? And BattlEye basically means that if you're playing the game underneath Linux, it's not happening, okay? Now, the funniest thing about this is, if you look at the top 100 games played on the Steam Deck, which, again, it's kind of interesting. I have to explain this to people that don't really know what a Steam Deck is, yet they buy it because they want to play their Steam library on the go. This is not a Windows device. You can install Windows on it, but it's just a Arch Linux-based device that runs games through something known as Proton, a compatibility layer that basically translates Windows binaries, or at least their specific, calls, to Linux calls in real time, meaning that those Windows games, it's running a Windows version of a game, but running it through a compatibility layer that runs underneath Linux. So to top 100 games on the Steam Deck, okay, you've got Baldur's Gate at number 1, Vampire Survivors at number 2, Dave the Diver 3, Hogwarts Legacy at 4, Elden Ring at 5, Palworld at 6, Cyberpunk 2077 at 7, and of course, GTA 5 is literally at the top 10 of that list. Meaning the top 10, one of those games on the Steam Deck literally lost its ability to play multiplayer games.
No, it's wild when you go to the Steam page. You can see that Valve is proudly saying it's one of the top played games on the Steam Deck. Like they're really happy with it. And then you look into the compatibility and it's like playable and you start learning and nowhere here do they even mention things like the anti-cheat until of course you go to that developer post where all of a sudden they're like, yeah, Steam Deck doesn't support anything over here. GTA and GTA Online are not officially supported, which is true, but it's like, imagine purchasing a Steam Deck and for your entire time owning it, since the lifetime of that device, everything is fine up until this one day where, unannounced, they just destroy half the functionality. Like, there's gotta be a case that you get some refund out of it. I'm sure a lot of those Steam Deck players might have even bought this shit for 20 bucks a pop, considering it's currently on a sale. It's insane.
Now, I would consider this to kind of be like a bit of a scam. Like, imagine selling a game to an entire platform of people and then yoinking half of the functionality of that game out because you decided to input some level of anti-cheat to it. And this is where, look, I understand why GTA 5 needs anti-cheat, and I'm going to assume that they're doing this to kind of prep for maybe a larger content drop for 5, maybe a couple months from now. You know, maybe they're porting that PS5 content over to PC. But also, I think they're prepping for GTA 6. I think 5 pretty much taught Rockstar that you have to have some level of anti-cheat protection if you want this to be a playable game going into the future. Or if you're implementing things like crossplay down the road, I guarantee you, if that's the case where PlayStation, Xbox, and PC players are playing GTA 6 together, it's probably going to be even more invasive than the BattleEye solution they have right now. Now, anti-cheats, it's not like they don't work underneath Linux. There's a website known as areweanticheatyet.com, which literally shows 35% of games work, 19% are running, 1% are planned, but unfortunately 38% are broken, and 7% literally outright deny Linux gaming from functioning. Now, the thing about BattleEye is sometimes those games can work underneath Linux, okay? In fact, if you go to that anti-cheat playlist, you'll find out that certain games that are in the BattleEye camp, so for instance, if we actually just go, I think it's like Ghost Recon, that game functions with BattleEye, yet it's supported underneath Linux, meaning you can play that game on your deck or on your Linux system through something known as the BattleEye runtime. But developers specifically have to actually tick a box that allows Linux users to play that game. Now, I've been wondering why certain developers don't do it if it's that easy, and there's been conflicting information. Some of it literally says that it's just a bypass, meaning that even if you enable anti-cheat protections on Linux, it doesn't actually give proper anti-cheat protections that the developers really need for their game. And if that's the case, then unfortunately Linux is just never going to be accepted by this community of people, meaning that for a whole chunk of users that bought Grand Theft Auto 5 and are playing it on their Steam decks or decided to play it on their Linux systems, like me, just got completely shafted, meaning that this 11-year-old game that I was playing to this day marks today being the final day that I'm actually able to even play online anymore. And sure, you might be like, Muda, that's pretty hyperbolic. Can't you just dual boot or use a Windows computer behind you? And that's true, I could, but I think a lot of it is literally just Rockstar cutting the cord for me, and I'm totally okay with that. You know, I'm not really that beat up over it because there's plenty of other games that I'm playing at the moment that literally take my time away. For instance, not being able to play GTA Online means that I can play something like No Man's Sky with more of my free time than anything GTA related. It's just that simple. My only rule to this is if one developer doesn't allow me to play their game underneath my platform, then I'm not going to complain at them and I'm not going to fucking raise a stink because ultimately that's just a developer saying I'm not important enough, my Linux crew isn't important enough, might as well shift my time, money, and focus to something else. And I think that's a fair thing to do, right? Like, understandably. Now, obviously, people had asked Rockstar, hey, can you turn that switch around and maybe enable it for us? And the response was kind of sad. So when they were basically brought up over here talking about is BattleEye compatible, BattleEye, Steam Deck does not support BattleEye for GTA Online. You'll be able to play GTA Story Mode, but unable to play GTA Online. GTA 5 and Online are not officially supported on Steam Deck, and so what you have to do is go to Valve to basically ask for it. So after 11 years, well 9 years on the PC, Rockstar has decided to basically implement anti-cheat. Fucking finally we've got anti-cheat. They picked quite possibly one of the worst anti-cheats, in my opinion, to drop in the entire, community out there. and basically kick people out for no real good reason. I mean, honestly, if you can get a refund for this game, if you bought it online just to play on your deck, might be worth doing. I think I'm long past the point of a refund, and honestly, it's just one of those things that is quite sour to just watch. You know, will this actually affect the hackers in the end of the day? No, it won't. And let me tell you why. Those hackers that Rockstar wants to stop from giving money away to like people randomly are already talking about how to bypass these anti-cheats anyways, using different hypervisors or any other solution that isn't just a traditional Linux gaming underneath Proton. Yes, these hackers will still ultimately win, and those money drops will just keep happening. All Rockstar did is just piss off a small, but, whatever insignificant player base that they had, and that's pretty much signaling to the rest of the game development industry that, yeah, cutting these players out is totally okay. I feel like in the last year or two that this whole anti-cheat problem really has exacerbated. Like, even if certain games didn't work underneath Linux, it wasn't really uncommon for me to just flip on a virtual machine and play the game within a virtualized Windows environment. But even then, these game publishers or game developers want to stop, when literally almost every single cheat method that I'm watching utilizes completely separate hypervisors, completely different methods than just the traditional like gaming virtual machine method that I've shown on my channel. And again, look, there's nothing to really complain about. Rockstar wants to get rid of hackers, and at the end of the day, if they feel that this is what's important, if this is what's going to magically stop them, then I guess all the power to them. It just means that I, nor the Linux group, or the people that play on their Steam decks are really ultimately going to play their product. But you should remember it for the future if you ever consider buying any of their products for the PC. Since I know Rockstar's stance, there might not really be any importance for me purchasing or double dipping and getting a PC version down the road. Look, at the end of the day, Linux is 4.55% of the market share now. And the thing about it is that number used to be like 1%, maybe even less than a percent when I started actually, talking about Linux gaming just a few years ago. So this number is going up. And if it doesn't seem substantial to you now, remember that is 4.55% of the desktop operating market system share that has been captured by StatsCounter around the world. So people are kind of adopting Linux. It's actually growing at a rate that is pretty impressive in my opinion. And it's one thing, right? Like down the road, as this share grows, as more people maybe purchase a Steam Deck or buy a competitor product that also uses, Linux-based operating systems, it might be that down the road, maybe these developers have to, at some point, consider that maybe it is time to actually, at least support Linux to some capacity, or maybe even consider porting our games, as unnatural as that may sound, to this operating system. But yeah, for now, Rockstar had an anti-cheat, and it's basically kernel-level anti-cheat that has kicked out a chunk of gamers, me included, killed my 11-year run. What I've witnessed over here is like the company purposefully blocking a chunk of users. And honestly, it's just really sad to witness. And one thing that I will say is literally a couple days from now, a week from now, I want you to log into GTA 5 and I want you to honestly feed me like the actual assessment you get. Has the cheating situation even gotten better? Because I suspect with as much fucks as Rockstar has given about the PC community, this all will be bypassed in like a week, and the game will go back to being a cheater shithole in a matter of no time. But yeah, Rockstar finally adds anti-cheat to a game that is about to be sunset next year as they release Grand Theft Auto 6. So yeah, wild time indeed, but ultimately all this does is just ruin their actual game for a chunk of gamers that probably would have supported them down the road, as they were one of the largest games that was actually supporting Linux in some unofficial capacity for now. But yeah, wild stuff, man. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.